We're still a ways away from seeing the new DC cinematic universe in full effect, with Creature Commandos having aired on Max a handful of months ago, and Superman making a big splash on the big screen this upcoming summer. As someone who's been obsessed with DC since childhood, you know I gotta pull up to the theater day one for Superman.
I know I'm coming. They know I'm coming.
It seems as if James Gunn wants to not only portray these iconic characters in a meaningful way, but also offer the uniqueness in the comic book genre that's been missing for the past decade. From telling DCU stories across animation and live action to greenlighting projects centered on more obscure or lesser known characters. Whether blending D-list projects with heavy hitters like Superman and Batman will actually work out remains to be seen. The biggest examples of this are the projects centered on villains or characters typically depicted as antagonists in stories. Creature Commandos is essentially Suicide Squad light, but with monsters, and as of now, the Clayface movie is set to release in theaters in 2026. However, I've seen the idea of villain-centered projects met with a lot of skepticism, likely due to the critical failures of the Sony-verse Spider-Man movies, you know, the Spider-Man villain movies with no Spider-Man, as well as the reception to DC movies like Joker 2 and Black Adam. So how should DC Studios tackle these villains to not only stand out from other cinematic universes like the MCU, but also avoid the failures and mishaps of the DCEU. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. How well do you think you know the Star Trek universe? Kirk, Spock, Picard, and Janeway. How well do you really know their stories? If you're curious enough, why not dive into their epic adventures with today's sponsor, Star Trek Fleet Command, the ultimate strategy game available on PC and mobile where you can build your fleet, forge alliances, and explore the galaxy like never before. Use my link in the description or scan my QR code to download the game for free on PC or mobile devices. As a fledgling commander, you'll build your own starbase and lead your crew through epic missions throughout the first 20 levels. Each level draws you into this immersive experience that captures the essence of Star Trek's notable officers like Kirk, Spock, and Uhura. You'll go through some initial training in the first 5 levels under the guidance of cadet officers to gain the skills needed for command. New players can claim all types of daily rewards without missing a single day for 7 days to unlock epic Romulan Captain Nero for free, who increases the damage of weapons by 40%. Additionally, buying any in-game bundle over $4.99 unlocks the legendary Lieutenant Picard for free, who provides extra bonuses for early enemies. Continue your covert journey with Section 31 Part 2, featuring the reveal of the GS-31 ship equipped with elements that would dominate in PvE, arena combat, and the new Elite Solo Wave Defense game mode. Unlock powerful Black Ops materials, recruit iconic officers, epic quasi and rare A-lock, and uncover forbidden tech to expand the story. This expansion comes with 25 new missions in total, along with new chaos tech, frames, and favors. But there's even more. Use the promo code Section31 to unlock Officer Marcus for free from April 1st until May 31st. And don't forget to use my link or scan the QR code to download the game. The galaxy needs a leader. Will you answer the call? Thanks again to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring today's video. I think one of the biggest problems in modern Hollywood deciding to produce movies on characters typically depicted as villains is their desire to make them more relatable or less sinister in nature. It's gotten to a point where you question if these guys should be considered villains in the first place. Black Adam was marketed to be this anti-hero of sorts, someone on the more heroic side I guess, but takes less nonsense. But the only thing he does that's even remotely edgy is his willingness to kill. From what I remember, he doesn't harm any innocents. Teth Adam throughout the film never had any villainous intent. His anti-hero-ness wasn't any deeper than killing criminals while also not conveying a grand sense of brutality. Oh, but he has a no-kill rule and wears dark colors.
Okay.
Even in cases like the first Joker movie where the protagonist goes through innate struggles and inner turmoil, allowing you to sympathize with his character to a certain degree, but he ultimately does some really messed up things by the end and should be considered a full-on criminal and murderer. But then they do some weird crap in trying to nullify the events of the previous entry on some, oh, he's not the true Joker or whatever. The Joker persona isn't representative of who I really am. In the case of Sony Pictures and their movies, they seem to have no interest at all in making movies about actual villains. Oh, you know Kraven the Hunter, one of the more notoriously savage Spider-Man villains? Well, in our version, we made him an anti-hero to better resonate with audiences. I wonder how that worked out for them. These kinds of movies are primarily the reason why many people think DC should never attempt to make a movie centered on a villain, but I would push back on that sentiment. Firstly, the reason movies like Craven and Morbius, for example, failed both critically and financially isn't solely because they're generally seen as villains. It's because they're just not good movies according to most people. I haven't seen either, nor do I think I'll waste my time on them, so I'm not saying I think they're bad. Successes like the first Joker movie are proof that a film of that nature can make a lot of money in the worldwide box office. Black Adam was just another generic, mediocre entry in a universe that was already losing audience intrigue with each passing entry. With DC Studios, it seems like their main priority is to craft a good script and a well-made story before a movie or show gets greenlit. That's not a guarantee that every project will be good, as what they think might work may or may not resonate with audiences, but that's certainly more thought than Sony has put into anything they've pumped out. I'm also seeing a lot of misconceptions as to why a Clayface movie is being made in the first place, especially this soon into the DCU. It's not a matter of James Gunn prioritizing a Clayface movie early on into planning his timeline of projects because he likes Clayface as a character more than Batman or Wonder Woman. He never planned on making a Clayface solo movie. Mike Flanagan came in with a pitch that really impressed Gunn and company. Flanagan comes in with different pitches that are better than the last, submits a completed script that's great. Then next thing you know, a Clayface movie is greenlit. Similar thing happened with Supergirl. While it was a part of Gunn's initial announcement plan, he didn't think the movie would go into production as soon as it did until he read the movie script, which was well crafted enough to give it the green light. It's also important for Clayface to be set in the DCU rather than Matt Reeves' universe, since the story doesn't fit well with Reeves' world of grounded, non-super meta-human characters. I hope a movie of this caliber does end up working well for DC Studios, as it proves they can diversify their selection of genres in this fully lived-in comic book world, and it would ideally offer us our first proper look at Gotham City through a different lens, expanding the Batman mythos before we get our proper introduction to the character in The Brave and the Bold. Plus, it's aiming to have a pretty small budget of around $40 million instead of having the usual $100+ million budget of a standard superhero flick. Villain-centric stories in the DCU allow for the opportunity for longevity instead of standalone one-off stories. These characters can develop over the course of several projects and can have an impact on whatever grand overarching story the DCU is trying to tell. This doesn't have to be the case for every single villain-centric story that's pitched. A hypothetical Mr. Freeze solo movie doesn't have to tie into the next Justice League movie or crossover with other major heroes. You still need to tell a good story, which can be standalone if the screenplay is crafted to be that way. But movies like the Bane and Deathstroke movie, for example, can set the foundation for inevitable confrontations between Slade Wilson and the Teen Titans. I think it would be really cool to see the seeds planted for a live-action adaptation of the Judas Contract storyline. Bane himself could appear in another Batman project down the road. A lot of people were pointing out the actual logistics of this movie, questioning whether it's centered on Bane and Deathstroke or if they are a part of something larger. When asked about the state of the story, Gunn went on to add that it's something kind of like a Deathstroke and Bane story, while also confirming that Matthew Orton is writing the script. I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Momoa's Lobo got a solo project at some point. We know he's wanted to play the character for a long time, and we'll be getting our first good look at him in the Supergirl movie, where he could pose a minor or major threat in that story. Obviously, the DCU needs to set its foot on the ground and establish its capabilities before going full throttle with out of left field entries like Clayface and whatever the Deathstroke and Bane movie is gonna be. If you can actually commit to telling stories about corrupt people and stray away from leaning too much on making them relatable or sympathetic, you could craft something different that people have been yearning for in a comic book movie. It'd be interesting to see how the criminal underworld or different factions operate in a world where heroes like Superman and Batman have made their mark for at least a handful of years, especially Batman, who's been a veteran by this point. Not saying villain movies have to be a priority, but if there's an idea that they're passionate enough about to give it the green light, I'd be curious to see it in full.